Good morning, everyone. It is Velva Dawn, and I am here with another Wisdom Weaver Wednesday. So we are getting closer and closer to Christmas. And I think everybody knows that, and everyone's bustling around, getting their Christmas shopping done. Excuse me. And I still have some to do. I'm not done yet. So before I bring this amazing, excuse me, woman on, my throat is acting funny. I want to share with all of you that we are having Shine. So it's January 21st at the Azaridge Estates Hotel, which is just a few minutes west, actually, of Calgary. And it's a beautiful estate hotel. So we are going to be having our Shine event there. And Michelle Morgan, who is the older sister on Heartland, which many of you may know, is going to be our keynote speaker, as well as Paula Hopwood, Angela Greneveld, Dana Goldstein, myself, and who else do we have on there? I'm just going to quickly run through my sheet. So Dana Goldstein, Jordan Guilford, who's the founder of Gems for Gems, Michelle Morgan is our keynote, Paula Hopwood, Angela Greneveld, and myself. So all of us are going to be sharing inspirational stories, and there is going to be vendors. So please, if you haven't got your tickets, my new website is now up and running at www.velvedon.com. Go hop on over there, get your ticket, get your tribe, get a table, and come and join us. Okay, I'm going to bring on my guest. So today, this beautiful, lovely, intelligent, she's probably one of the most intelligent women I've ever met in my life, is going to be a guest on my show. And we are going to talk about life, just like we do on Facebook. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Yes, good.
I'm joining you from my couch with my animals and my tea.
Oh, nice. That is perfect. We can have a little perfect conversation. Okay. So why don't you share with everybody your name, who you're from, where you're from, not who you're from. You can share who you're from if you want. And just a little bit about yourself that everybody would like to hear.
Yeah. Well, my name is Emily Ann Severa, but I go by Em or Emmy or Emily. My friends have different names for me. I live on Aquindic Island in Newport, Rhode Island. I love it. It's my little island home. And what am I not? I mean, I think I've tried just about everything in the world. So as of today, I'm a wildlife rehabilitator. I take care of wildlife, and I do reflexology sessions and healing sessions and things like that. Most days I'm just plugging along with the rest of the world, trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And you're making a big difference. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really wanted to have you because we have such deep conversations, on Facebook audio. And I thought, let's share that conversation with the world.
Yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's.
And I want to share with everybody before we begin, Emily actually was the one who just finished putting together my brand new, amazing website. So I'm pretty happy, pretty excited about it. And she was the creatress of doing the web portion.
It was fun.
It was. It was really fun. Okay. So you looked through the questions.
Actually, you didn't send me the questions.
Oh.
I figured I'm not even going to ask because I've watched enough of your interviews that I kind of know them, but I really like going off the cuff anyway.
Wow.
So today's going to be on the fly, girl.
Okay. Wow. Too much on my mind. So she did not get the questions. My apologies.
No, don't
Jeez. Okay.
It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Okay. Oh, okay. So the reason I create this is so that we can have real and raw conversation. So just as Emily said, she didn't even have the questions, so she couldn't even prepare for what we're going to talk about. So that tells you how real and raw this is going to be. Okay. So let's begin.
Dive in.
Okay.
All right. Question one. I'm
Okay.
ready.
Okay. Okay. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self now?
Buckle up. Buckle the hell up.
Okay.
It was a wild ride. It's been a wild ride. Yeah, buckle up and trust. Those would be the two major things. I think if I said anything else, I probably wouldn't have listened anyway.
Mm.
Really,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
time of my life, it was just very adventurous, lots of traveling, and lots of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just really followed to the beat of my own drum. I just
Mm-hmm.
really didn't worry about much else. So yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
just say, buckle up, girl, because you're in for one heck of a ride.
Yeah. Okay. That's good advice, right? Buckle up. Okay. Love it. If there's one thing that you could change in your life, what would it be?
Nothing.
Ooh. Ooh.
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I
And
don't.
expand on that a little bit.
Well, I believe that when we come here with
Mm-hmm.
our agreements, we come here with our plan intact. And even the biggest mistakes that I've made in my life, I don't regret them, because
Mm-hmm.
every single moment has been pivotal in leading me to where I am here today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's a very bad place to be, if I'm honest. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think I would change anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was meant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what? 100%. I totally agree with you. And I love that you said that, because I believe, as you do, that everything is meant to be in our lives, and it gives us what we need to be here today.
Yeah.
The wisdom.
The good,
Yeah.
the ugly, the happiness, the
Mm-hmm.
joy, you know what I mean? All of
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Okay. What is the best thing that's ever happened to you?
Oh gosh, lots of good things have happened to me. The best thing that ever happened to me, well, I think obviously the birth of my babies.
Mm-hmm.
That has always been my
Mm-hmm.
happiest thing in the whole wide world, my children and my family. But I think cardiac arrest at 36, near-death experience. I learned a lot from that. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons from that. They were all really hard, but I learned a lot about surrender, a lot about faith, a lot about how to heal myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
also introduced a lot of people into my life that I never would have met them otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there was a lot of work to be done within that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, that would be my
Mm-hmm.
answer.
So, one word that you said there, excuse me, my throat, that I want to expand on a little bit is surrender. What because when we talk about, surrender, what does that mean to you?
Well, it means I think it's different for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what is life if not duality? You know what I mean? One can't exist without the other, as above, so below, fire and water, sun and moon, man and woman. It all is coming from a divine consciousness, from, just a really beautiful, timeless place in the universe. And I think a single moment in time holds the heart of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we start to understand this, that life is a gift and that it holds infinite unknowns, and within this knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
I think you really truly understand the value of surrender. I think a lot of people look at surrender as a loss and giving up, but in a sense it is. You know what I mean? But you're losing grief. You're losing that constant need to fight. You're losing the struggle. And what you're getting in return from that polarity is grace and flow and peace and calm.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I think, when you said it's the heart of the moment, it's true. It's, being present and looking at the positive in that moment, because as we know, in the death and rebirth cycle, It's going to come around, right? We can't
Yeah,
avoid
it
it.
does come around. It does come around. And, I think when you truly have that understanding, it's the surrender just comes so naturally. We're so programmed to fight, 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 and not that that's bad. You know what I mean? Some things we do need to fight for in this lifetime. But when it comes to our personal, being, I don't think we need to fight as hard as we think we do, because what that does is it causes a really staunch resistance, and that resistance just really blocks your flow, and that's going to inhibit you from surrendering. Surrendering isn't giving up. Surrendering, if anything, is like owning your crap, and that's something we all need to learn to do.
Amen, sister. Right?
Yeah.
Continual. Okay, this is a fun one. We're in the age category, by the way.
Oh boy.
Okay. Do you feel as old as your birth age? If not, what age do you feel that you are?
I don't feel any age.
Oh.
I don't really feel any. As a matter of fact, I always forget how old I am. Like kids will be like, "Mama, how old are you?" And I'll be like, 45. I'm like, "No, I don't think so." I really don't feel an age. I feel an energetic response in my body. Some days that energetic response feels really, really young. And some days it feels very neutral and still. It seriously just depends on the day. But I don't really feel an age, if that makes sense. No? At all. I don't. And I don't think I really ever have. The one time age meant something to me is when I worked with the inner child. I started going back and really examining things that, were happy or traumatic or just things from my childhood. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of shadow work to be done there. And so within that part of my life, I really resonated with age as a number. But overall, no. We're all endless. We're all infinite. I mean, we're all infinite. And there's nothing linear about that. I think that the number we give ourselves here on Earth with that calendar year, that sun rotation, it makes sense for Earth, if that makes sense. But when you are part of the energetic collective, I think it kind of shifts that a little bit,
Yeah, wow. That's a deep answer. I love it. I love it. Okay. No, we're going to go over here. What are 2 things that you have left on your bucket list?
Oh God, only 2?
You can share more than 2 if you want.
One of my biggest things is to surf Bali. And when I had cardiac arrest and had all these heart surgeries, I have like this thing in my chest, and they told me I couldn't surf ever again because it could tear out of my heart and it would be like instantly fatal. But you know what? I'm still open, and yeah. So I want to surf Bali. That's like a huge, or Thailand, one of the 2, like huge on that. And I want to dive the Marianas Trench. Obviously, I'm never going to get that far down. I mean, like you have to use actual pods to get down there. But even just swimming over it in that endless, it's like the deepest part of the entire world. And I just think it would be phenomenal to be in that water.
You know what? I've not heard of that. So what is that?
So the Marianas Trench is literally the deepest chasm on planet Earth. And it is the deepest ocean water anywhere on the planet. I'll send you a link after and you can read about it. But, they always say that water is the heartbeat of memory. And I think to myself, oh my God, imagine what you would feel just even being above that, just swimming in that wide open, expansive ocean. So those are 2 of my big bucket list items.
I'll come with you on that.
Oh yeah.
Right? I didn't even know about that. I'll do all of it. I'll surf with you too. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I'll invite myself on your bucket list.
Please do.
Oh, I love that. Okay. What do you like the most about your appearance?
My eyes. I think my eyeballs. Yeah. Whenever I look at myself in the mirror, that's what I always tend to get drawn into. Get lost in my own eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have beautiful eyes.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that you didn't hesitate to give me an answer.
Oh yeah. Well, it took me a long time to get to that point, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Nope. I love my eyes. As we were talking about the other day, our eyes are portals,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I love my eyes. They always change colors. Some days they're green, sometimes they're blue.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes one is green and one is blue. My eyes are constantly doing the coolest things, and I just love it. I had a friend text me once, and he's like, "Are you downtown in Providence right now?" And I said, "No, I'm not. Why?" And he said, "I think I just saw your eye doppelganger." And he was like, it
Oh,
stopped me dead in my tracks.
that's funny.
So, yeah.
Oh, people. Um, okay. Now, what actions, we're going to spirituality. Okay. So
Okay,
there's different categories here. So
sure.
category spirituality. I need a wheel, right? That I can spin
We
around
can
and I'll be
spin
like, right?
like Twister. We should
I
get a
know.
Twister thing and make our own.
Actually, I might do that.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
great idea.
Right?
Spin the
What,
wheel.
right? What actions do you take to create stillness in your life?
God, that's a really love layered question. It depends on the day. Some days I'm able to achieve stillness in the midst of chaos
Mm,
by simply focusing on breath
mm-hmm,
or even just tuning things out. You know what I mean? Kind of just
mm-hmm,
recenter, regrounding. But it all goes to grounding somehow. Even if I'm in the midst of chaos or if I'm home alone, it all goes back to grounding. And that's, I think, my answer. Grounding is extremely important. We have to transmute our energy all the time. And
mm-hmm,
that helps to bring stillness.
mm-hmm. So, how do you ground? I know how you ground, but
Oh, well, I have a tree in my backyard.
mm-hmm,
That's my best friend.
mm-hmm,
And she really is my best
mm-hmm,
friend. And I'll go outside. I will literally just put my bare feet on her. The roots are all above the ground. She's a huge, beautiful oak tree. You know, I'll put my feet on the roots and just hold her, you
mm-hmm,
know, and
mm-hmm,
right away I'll become instantly still. Working with my wildlife,
mm-hmm,
that's an unintentional grounding. There's something so valuable when a wild animal trusts you.
mm-hmm,
And it lends like instant grounding. With your body goes into like instant homeostasis. You're just centered and still and
mm-hmm,
quiet, and the language of words goes away, and
mm-hmm,
you're speaking the language of frequency
mm-hmm,
with these animals, and it's just the most amazing experience.
mm-hmm,
So those are two different ways to ground me. And then of course being in the ocean and being in the water,
mm-hmm,
that's instant, you know, that brings me
mm-hmm,
instant stillness. So
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Ria. Ria's on here. She's like, hello, beautiful souls. Yeah, she's in
Oh,
Costa Rica now.
speaking of ocean, girl,
Yes,
you're getting in there.
I'm sure she is. Okay, I want to go back to the wildlife. What is one of the most miraculous or amazing stories that you have had that you can share working with wildlife?
Geez, like every single
Mm,
one. But I will say baby season. You
mm,
know, I'll have calls coming in. I run a clinic right out of my house. So I'll have people coming all day into the night, bringing me injured and orphaned wildlife.
mhm,
The thing that never ceases to amaze me is when someone brings me a hatchling, a bird,
mm,
you know, tiny little hatchling that literally weighs kilograms,
mhm,
not even ounces. They're just tiny. And they're just naked little tiny things that literally are so small.
mhm,
And you start right away by getting them on warmth because they can't thermoregulate, but then you start to see the miracles happen.
mhm,
They go from almost being dead to, they get that warmth, then they start to liven up a little bit, and then they start
mhm,
moving around. And then you get to introduce a little bit of food and some hydration. And it's literally the miracle of life.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if it's something that has been injured that you're able to help, or if it's an orphaned baby. Every single one is a miracle.
Mm.
And it's just an honor to be part of it,
Mm.
to have that trust. That's something I was really worried about when I got into this. I'm thinking, how are these wild animals going to trust me, a human? Because they're intrinsically designed to not trust humans at all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different protocol that you follow to make sure that, you know, these animals are releasable. A tame wild animal is not releasable. They'll die. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they'll trust humans and they just can't. And so just learning that process and gaining that trust, it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it's miraculous to me all around. I love it.
Mm. Thank you. And you're right. I mean, you would wonder about the trust being human and an animal, right? Especially a wild animal.
And that's,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that's when it goes back to, I said, like, to the language of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
For humans, words create our reality.
Mm-hmm.
But in life, frequency creates our truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the level that animals are on. It's a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And we all can harness that frequency. We all can communicate with animals. We all
Mm-hmm.
can heal animals. It's just a matter of being able to tune into that frequency, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True, you're right. Tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
It is the key. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's talk about what we're going into childhood.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite childhood memory?
Oh, I have lots. A funny one. It's not really funny, but it's kind of funny. So I'll share this one. So when I was about 7 or 8 years old, we live on an island, as I mentioned earlier, and out front is just wide open ocean and rocks and cliffs, and it's beautiful. So I was about 7 years old. My dad and his best friend take me out there, and they're going to teach me to snorkel. And it was magnificent, but I didn't get the part, like, you know, when you're snorkeling and sometimes if the waves are coming over the top of the snorkel, or like when you dive down, you have to come up, you have to spit really hard to let the water out of the snorkel. Well, I almost drowned my dad that day. We were like in this area and I'm trying to climb on him because I was choking to death. That's not the best part. The best part was after the fact. He got me settled down and we were snorkeling around. We called it the Hole. It's called Breton Reef, and there's just reefs all around the front of the island. It's just such a beautiful area. Well, we saw a shark. I think it was a thresher, but I remember having no fear. And I remember going right out, and I felt my dad grab my fin and like pull me back. But that moment was so pivotal because I remember thinking, like, I had no fear. I had no fear at all. And it just really has stuck with me all of these years, you know. That was one of my first major ocean memories, and it's one of my happiest.
Mm. Wow. Okay, share a little bit too about, because I wanted to share your surfing photo, the one that you sent me of you on the surfboard, because you know there's not many girls that I can talk to that are surfers. So why don't you share a little bit about surfing, the best place you've surfed, how it makes you feel?
Well, I'll tell you, Aquidneck Island, where I live, believe it or not, we are an epic skate and surf town. So, and my uncles all, you know, surfed, and there was this guy, Sid Abruzzi, love Sid, Water Brothers. I mean, if you look up Water Brothers, you're going to be amazed at what this guy has accomplished. He is known worldwide. I was lucky enough to know this guy. And my favorite place ever to surf was Ruggles, which is right here in Newport, Ruggles Ave. And the terrain is a bit gnarly. You have to walk down Cliff Walk, and then you walk down, you have to kind of, while navigating and holding your board, you've got to walk down the rocks to the ocean. And the sets are just like boom, 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 right after the other. So you've really got to be careful. I think I was probably about, I don't know, 13 or 14 the first time I went out there. A couple of friends and I, Sid was there, you know, all the big guys, all the big surf guys on the island. And I remember they were all looking at me like, what the hell is this little girl doing? And I got out there and I nailed it. And it was the best, most exhilarating feeling in my life. So, I mean, I've surfed all over Florida, all over the East Coast, West Coast. But my hometown, Ruggles, I have to say Ruggles is the absolute best, most magical spot in the whole world. If you're going to go out. Yeah. It's just stunning.
Mm. Oh, and what do you have on your surfboard? Do you have a
Well,
symbol or?
tons of stickers, lots of different stickers. I don't have any symbols or anything like that, but
Mhm.
mostly local, like Water Brothers stickers. I have a few sex wax stickers. I haven't pulled my surfboard out since I had cardiac arrest.
Mhm.
So she's dusty in the garage right now, but I know I'll get back out there one of these days, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, you absolutely will. Yeah. I don't know. I've always admired you for that, right? How your pictures of you surfing.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah. Well, my
mhm.
Uncle Tim was really the one that got me into it.
Mhm.
He was a world famous and he competed. He was windsurfer and he would
Oh,
compete in the Virgin Islands and Hawaii, all over the place. I actually have a picture. I'll send it to you later. But
mhm.
it's of me and my Uncle Tim, and we're getting everything ready, and it's at Third Beach here in Middletown, Rhode Island. And he was really, I think, the one that I got bit by the bug because of my Uncle Tim, for sure. He
Mm.
just really, and he was so cool. He was like the cool uncle. You know what I mean? He was always doing
Yep.
the coolest thing was with all of us girls. I mean, we would do tricks with him out there. Our dogs would windsurf with us, things like that. So that's how it really started.
Mm.
And yeah, I was definitely bitten by the bug for sure.
Mm. I know I took surf lessons in Hawaii and I felt really called to hire someone to take us out. So I think my girls, like Erin was just wee,
Yeah.
right? She was like maybe, geez, I don't know, maybe 10. And then so 10, 13, and 15 or 16 was Kayla. They were all 3 years. So we went out there with this guy named Surfer Bear. And he had a couple guys with him. So there was us, just myself and my girls. And then there was another man with his boys. And I think he was from Ontario. And so we had the big, foam
Yep.
surfboards, right, to learn
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So we
Did they
were
make
out there.
on the sand and
Yep.
all that?
So we did
Yeah.
all that. We learned to stand in our pose. But you know what the hardest thing was, laying on my front, right? And just
Paddle.
paddling, like my arms. I was working out at the time, but it was
Yes.
like, but we outbeat all those boys. Like
Oh
they
yeah.
quit and they left. And he looked at me and he goes, wow, you guys are still going. But there was a moment where all the sets were coming in and my middle daughter, Josie, got stuck in them. And it
Oh.
was just a lava shore. So it was
Mm-hmm.
very dangerous. And one
Yeah.
of his guys just swept along there and plucked her and pulled her out. And so I was glad I listened to that gut feeling that we
Yeah.
needed to have somebody to teach us. But I still have the surfboards in the garage in Hawaii, and I
Oh,
definitely would like to go out. Like it's just exhilarating.
it is exhilarating.
Yeah.
And I love the drop. The wave drop is my favorite part. It's like just, oh, it's like magic. You just
Mm-hmm.
feel weightless and it's amazing. I love
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I
that
can.
sets, that's like how Ruggles is. Those sets can be dangerous when they're like boom, boom, boom. You
Mm-hmm.
really have to,
Mm-hmm.
you have to know your stuff or make sure that there's people with you that know their stuff,
Yes.
until you know your stuff.
Yeah. I still need someone to come with me, but what an adventure. I love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Okay. Let's talk about I skip all over. Let's go to the taboo section.
Okay.
Most people are like, oh.
Yeah. Bring it on.
Okay, let's talk about, what do you dream about the most often?
Like dream as in my dreams or dreams like in actual recurring dreams?
Your your recurring dreams.
So this dream I've had since I was a child, since I was a little girl, and I'm on a path, and it starts at Cliff Walk where I live, and I'm walking, and then there's like this portal, and I walk through it, and I'm in Atlantis.
Mm.
And I've been having that dream for as long as I can remember. And sometimes I get through the portal and I really get in there and I'm able to explore. Sometimes I get through the portal and it's a different place. And that's usually when I wake up and I'm like, that's not right. Maybe I need to stay asleep and find out where it's trying to bring me. But that's the one reoccurring dream that I've had.
Mm.
I think that was like the first dream that I can ever even remember having.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that dream.
I do too. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, I was actually watching a documentary the other day and they were showing a place in Turkey and it was like what I saw in that dream. So I need to go back and rewatch that
Mm-hmm.
and find out exactly where they were. Because I was like, oh my God, that looks like my Atlantis place. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it caught
Mm-hmm.
my attention.
Mm-hmm. I, yeah, absolutely it would. Um, okay, what is the most adventurous thing that you've ever done in your life?
Oh God.
Mm-mm.
There's a
More than
lot.
I know.
Um, a lot of the hiking that I've done has been pretty adventurous, especially out in California.
Mm.
Cave, like going into caves, and my dad and my dad's my hiking partner, and we went to this place called Salmon Creek once, and the terrain was extremely rugged. That was pretty adventurous. When I was, I think, 21, I drove cross country from Daytona Beach to LA. That was awesome. That was an awesome adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think probably my experiences in nature, though, bring me to the most adventurous things that I have ever tried, from
Mm-hmm.
getting into the ocean in places I probably had no business being in, to going into caves and hiking through caves and literally getting lost in the wilderness with this intrinsic trust that I'm going to come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key to adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your gut. If you're
Mm-hmm.
getting into trouble, you'll know. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But
Mm-hmm.
be adventurous, be free, get out there, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I want to touch on something that I think not everyone's experienced. So, you talked about the near death experience and how would you say that has changed how you live your life since that moment?
I I I akin it to Alice licking a mushroom, like in
Mm,
Alice in Wonderland when she like licks or she licks one of the little eat me things. That experience, I think, gave me an extremely minute taste of the divine consciousness. And when I came out of all of that, it was almost like, I don't know, I just remembered. I remembered who my soul was. I remembered all, all of these lifetimes that have coincided, all of these physical forms that have coincided with this one soul.
mhm,
And it really, it made me feel like I could take on the world, in the sense that, like, the calm, the peace, the serenity. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And I call it a death experience. I know people call them near death experiences, but there is nothing near about these
mhm,
whatsoever. You're
mhm,
there. You're
mhm,
there. You're within that higher consciousness. And I think true death is moving into that divine consciousness.
mhm,
But I feel like I just got a tiny little taste of it. And when I came out, my perception shifted, my lens cleared. It wasn't about, why is this happening to me? It's about, okay, this is supposed to be happening to me, and
mhm,
I can choose grace, or I can continue being a victim. Things like that. The lens, the
mhm.
polarity shifted. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
I think it's so powerful what you just said about being a victim, because there's so many times where you've gone to those depths, you've gone into that dark space. So it gives you such a power. It's so empowering, like you said,
Yeah.
exhilarating, that
Mm-hmm.
you're like, what can I do next? I can take on the world, because really, there's nothing to fear.
There is nothing to fear.
Yeah.
Bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a part of life, it's a part of this world. There are bad things.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? If we choose to let those bad things rule, then that's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
If we choose to learn how to move through those bad things or learn how to do better because of those bad things, that is also a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this of people that have free will. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a totally different end of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, most of us can make a cognizant choice of how we choose to live. It's unfortunate it took dying for me to figure that out,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm glad it did.
Mm-hmm.
I can make a choice. Yeah, things bother me, but I don't let it eat me alive
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And there's no fear. Recently I had something go down, and everyone around me was melting down, like, oh my God, no, you know, and I said, just stop. You're letting your fear eat you up. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they just couldn't wrap their head around that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that, yeah, this is a deep question. Do you feel that, you know, it's like some people have a lot of things happen to them, and then other people sort of just graze through life, you know, steady.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that either or both people have the same perception at the end of life? Like
That's a
the
really
depth?
good, yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I think what's important to remember is a lot of times we're just seeing the
Mm-hmm.
surface of people. You know what I mean? Who knows what people are really thinking at the end of the day? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? You know, I think from people that I've spoken with, there's a lot of fear around death. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of downright fear. But the reality is, I mean, how can I put this in a way that we can understand it? We don't necessarily need to respond or react to things. We
Mm-hmm.
can just allow things to flow. Because when you're in the thick of things, you know, you really learn how important stillness and silence are. I call it the quiet journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I think it's very individual. I think the perception is very individual. I
Mm-hmm.
think it has a lot to do with epigenetic karma. I think it has a lot to do with what we agree to when we come here, what we're agreeing to finish or complete. It's very individual.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we have this concept of divine consciousness, we have this concept of us all being one, and we are, there is a separation right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that separation, you know, people just don't remember. And that's what a death experience
Mm-hmm.
lends you. You know, we work so hard to unlock these ancient knowings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you die, you get it all. You're right back there. You know, so I think if people understood that, there wouldn't be as much fear surrounding death as there is. So I do feel it's a very individual perception.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, and I, is Cheryl saying epigenetic karma? Yeah, that was.
Karma, that's the karma of our lineage, our
Mm-hmm.
ancestral lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people come back here and we're clearing eons of generational karma, and we signed up for that.
Mm-hmm.
And it will look different for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
we hold within our DNA everything of our ancestry, everything.
Very true, and very. So there was something that you said there about unlocking. I mean, it's true in the work that I do. So for everyone who's listening, they're like, wow, they're seeing a different side of me and you today, because I've kept it very surface and this is very deep, which is why I wanted to have you on here, because I feel like there's those of us that really want to go deep in the spiritual world. So this Wisdom Weaver is about that for those people, because we have duality and we have to, you know, go from every angle or
Yeah,
every place in the circle. So
absolutely.
when we talk about, when you talked about unlocking things and near death experiences, or when you think you're dying, you get to that moment where it does unlock that. It's like the knowing is clear, there's clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so powerful because it's like this inner power ignites within you,
Yes.
right? I'm
Well, it's
trying
your
to explain it,
spark.
but
It's like your
mm-hmm.
spark is ignited. You
Mm-hmm.
remember who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say who you are, I don't mean me sitting here in the physical right now. You remember your soul,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
souls are very layered. Our souls have carried us through ancient times all the way up into,
Mm-hmm.
and I think in our memory, you know, we have all of these locked rooms. We have access to them if we
Mm-hmm.
want.
Mm-hmm.
For me, having a near-death experience, it gave me access to those rooms. Working with you and doing different work before that all happened, you know, that also helped to unlock some of those rooms, you know, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's different for everybody how they
Mm-hmm.
are able to unlock those memories.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah, deep. I love it. So powerful, right? Because so many people will say, and so many pop songs today have the term karma in it, and
Yeah.
karma, you know, and it's deep, and it's the vibrational, right? And
It
it's
is.
something that's come up for a lot of people in the
And
last little bit.
yeah, it has. And karma, karma isn't a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Karma isn't what somebody deserves. Karma is what we're here to clear.
Mm-hmm.
This is our work here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more equilibrially perfect than karma. At the end of the day, it's just about balance.
Mm-hmm. Balance. That is key, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was good. Okay. Let's, here's a
Okay.
question.
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather be loved, respected, or admired?
Oh, love.
Mm-hmm.
Love.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that like my friends will be like, how do you love that person after what they put you through? Or, well, because love is the key. Love is what's going to return us to that divine consciousness. Our higher heart speaks of love, from love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And again, it goes back to choice. It goes
Mm-hmm.
back to choice. We make the choice. We can choose to be angry, and it's okay to be angry, but you got to move through it, because it's just poison, and it will manifest in your body, in your physical body. So love, not that I necessarily want everyone to love me, but I just think we all should love each other. It's very important,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. So I can feel somebody's throat chakra as we're talking about
Me
this,
too. I'm
right?
in heart too. I'm
Could
feeling it
be
deeply.
somebody who's listening on here. So I'm like, ooh. Um, so how do you move through the process of forgiving?
It's pretty automatic now.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work through it. I had to work through a lot of anger,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt validated in my anger. Like so and so put me through this, or so and so did that. And some of the things were pretty damn heinous.
Mm-hmm.
But it really starts by realizing you're not a victim unless you choose to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're really not. You
Mm-hmm.
can move through it. You can move out of it. And when you decide to do that, forgiveness is pretty automatic. It's not even like, oh, I'm deciding that I'm going to, this came up recently for me. I thought I had forgiven someone, and then I realized, no, I really didn't. And I really had to work through that. It wasn't very automatic, because it was very deeply rooted.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid when it comes back up, though. If you think that you've forgiven someone and then you realize, okay, maybe I'm still a little pissed off. You know what I mean? Don't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid to explore that. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid to explore things about yourself that are triggered,
Mm-hmm.
that you need to look at. It's not always the other person. Sometimes we're angry with ourselves for letting that horrible thing
Mm-hmm.
happen, or.
True. So I want to talk about this because it's been coming up all around me.
Okay.
And so, when you're triggered, when, something happens and you feel that trigger inside of you, what
Yes.
is your response when that happens to you?
Well, it depends if I'm in a space of reaction or response. Sometimes I react, and my temper flares, and I'm cognizant of it now, though. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of ground and return myself to stillness. But that stillness is the most important thing. You need to be still with things for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's natural to want to respond and be like, and be angry. And not that you can't. You can be, absolutely. But do it privately,
Mm-hmm.
in stillness, and just move through it, because it softens the lens. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I look back at something a couple of hours later and think, okay, you know what, it's not so bad. And then I'm able to see things from a point of compassion rather than threat.
Yes. And reaction. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. That's probably one of the most powerful things my counselor has ever said to me is she'd say, Velvedon, I want you to learn to be able to move through the emotion, whether for me it was like grief, I want you to be able to move through it internally versus reaching out externally instantly. And I sat with that for a long time. And I'm like, I just didn't have the strength to go internal. And sometimes we don't.
We
Sometimes we
don't.
need that
Yeah.
external connection because we don't have the tools to go internally or we're so
Yeah.
broken, right?
And in that circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
and this is why I think it's so important to have a good network around you. You should
Mm-hmm.
always have one person, one or two people, you know what I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
you can say, all right, this just happened and I need to talk through this with someone so that I can come to a place of compassion and
Mm-hmm.
love and understanding. I mean, we're not alone in this race by any stretch of the
Mm-hmm.
imagination. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you do need to move through those things. And sometimes, I mean, I know for me, endless hospital stays and just months in the hospital and things like that. If it wasn't for my ability to reach out for support, I may not have gotten any. We can't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But just remember to be neutral, and I think that helps to soften the lens a little bit
Mm-hmm.
as well. When we explain something that's happened to us where we feel like we've been victimized, if you explain things with neutrality, it automatically softens the lens.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, it almost discharges the vibration
It
of the
does.
lower frequency, right?
Yeah.
If you can
It's
work
just
through
lift
it.
it
Mm-hmm.
back up there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I've been working on that myself. So,
It's
okay.
something I have to work on every day. I have a
Mm-hmm.
really bad temper. It's one of the things I like the least about myself. I get fired up. Like injustice, don't even get me going because
Yeah.
you're going to see a side of me that you're going to be like, whoa, but
Mm-hmm.
seriously, and that's so I have to. This isn't something that comes naturally to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting easier,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I got to move to the fire. You know.
Oh my gosh. Yes, exactly. The fire. Okay. I'm laughing. Okay, we're not doing the dating because you're not dating.
No.
No. Um, have you ever had an addiction? If so, what and how did you overcome it?
I don't think I've ever had an addiction.
Mm.
Actually, no. You know what? I was addicted to pitying
Oh.
myself.
Mm.
Yeah. Always like, oh, why is this happening to me? Or, oh, you know what I mean? Self
Hmm.
pity. I was addicted to self pity. And I had to learn a lot to come out of that.
So, so how did you? Because that is key for many people is the pity. Because many times you're like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Instead of why is this happening for me?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It was a shift that I don't think anybody could have done for me. It was something I had to completely do on my own, and it was just the simple realization that I was tired of feeling like shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was tired of being miserable, and I thought to myself, what am I doing to myself?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I playing into this? You know what I mean? And it was really that easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that easy. It's just a choice.
You're right. It is a choice, but it's being aware that you have a
Yeah.
choice,
Yeah.
right? And I
And a
think,
lot. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I was to say a lot of people I don't think realize that they really have a choice in the matter because they're so ingrained in
Mm-hmm.
that vibration of
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is they're stuck in
Mm-hmm.
that they feel like there's no way out,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But it's really, I say it's that simple, but it really is that simple. It's like flipping the light switch. It's a choice. We
Mm-hmm.
make choices every day: coffee, tea, walk, drive. You know what I mean? It's that easy. It's
Mm-hmm.
that easy.
Mm-hmm. And if you're in it so much that your vibration is so low, going for a walk will help shift that choice.
Yeah.
Shifting your energy will help shift that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's something that's really important. No matter where we all fluctuate. Some days
Mm-hmm.
my vibration is low, low, low. Some days it's really, really high. You can feel,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important to be cognizant of as well. Be aware of what you're bringing to the table is
Mm-hmm.
basically what I think I'm trying to say. Be
Mm-hmm.
aware of what you're bringing to the table, and just always work from the higher heart. Always work from love. Always maneuver from love. I mean, you really can't go wrong. You
Mm-hmm.
can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True. You can't go wrong. And if you're operating from that love point, people feel it and they soften,
They
right?
do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even something that words need to be used for.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone speaks the language of frequency, even if they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
You can diffuse a situation immediately just by standing in stillness and calm
Mm-hmm.
and just saying nothing. I've done it countless times with my family, with friends, with animals. You know what I mean? It all goes back to the language of frequency.
Mm-hmm. The language of frequency. So powerful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about love.
Okay.
Okay.
My
Okay.
favorite.
Because we were just talking about love. At what age did you fall in love? How old were you when you first fell in love?
Little. Well, I fell in love with a cat, like serious
Mm,
love first. My first love was an animal, my cat.
mm, mm,
Um, and then I think I was probably 13 or 14. I met
mm-hmm.
my best friend's big brother, and my world just exploded. It was all I could do not to think about this boy. And he was my very first boyfriend, and it was a really great experience. And I just, still to this day, when I think about him, it warms my heart. I have no idea where he is or where he ended up in life.
Mm,
I think, oh, Johnny, God, he stole my heart, and he still has a piece of it. You always
mm,
think first love is like that for a lot of
mm.
us.
Isn't
But
it?
yeah, I don't even think I really learned anything, to be honest. It was just so raw
Mm,
and just vibrant and open, and it felt so good that
mm-hmm,
it just flowed. It just was so good,
mm-hmm,
you know. And
mm-hmm,
yeah, yeah,
mm-hmm. You know, I asked that question because I feel like I know what happened, I would say, in my marriage. You know, you just get into a routine, you have kids, you're raising
yeah,
kids, and you forget about that moment that you first felt love in your heart
yeah,
for someone in that intimate
yeah.
relationship connection. And so that's why I bring this up, because it's a reminder that feel that feeling. Like, even if
Yes.
you've been married, you know, go back to your first love and just close your eyes and envision holding their hand, you know, looking at them, just
Butterfly.
bringing, yes, right? And yeah, it's just sort of a meter for you internally to connect with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. A love
mm,
metronome.
yes, true. That's good. That's really good. Okay, children, do you see yourself in your kids?
Oh my God, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Physically, characteristic wise, personality. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. And I'm very grateful that most of it's good, the good parts of me. You know what I mean? I don't know how we got so lucky, because there are some dark, deep, not so great parts of me. But
Mm-hmm.
when that stuff shows up in them, at least now I'm able to say, okay, this is how we're going to work through this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely see the cloth is all the same cloth that we have been cut from.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear you about the good parts and not the bad parts, right? Um, okay. Was actually, I know the answer, so it's hard for me to ask you these questions. Um,
Oh boy.
let's see. If you won the lottery tomorrow, would you still work in the field that you're working in?
Oh yes. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is I'm a volunteer. I save wildlife, but I'm a volunteer. I don't get paid for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I did get paid for doing it, though, yeah, I absolutely would. I'd probably end up giving most of it away,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
money's important for things, I guess, but yeah, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
definitely would do the same thing.
So, how many careers have you had in your life?
Oh God, lots.
Mm-hmm.
I think that my first most meaningful career was working for a catering company here in Newport. My boss was amazing, and she took a chance on me, and I ended up helping her run the company. We did massive events together, and I worked back of the house in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
She took a chance on me there. She said, do you want to apprentice with this chef? He's amazing. And I did. And then I worked with her, and she taught me the ins and outs of events and weddings. And oh, it was just such a meaningful experience. And she was the first person, I feel like, that ever really, really took a chance on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I was in a better place when that happened, just because I was still kind of like in that people pleasing. I was like, oh my gosh, she likes me. She really likes me. And it was so foreign to me at that time, you know, that someone would even take a chance on me, that I think I made a few mistakes on the way. But we both are still very dear friends to this day. And that career meant so much to me. You brought a lot of joy to people in that career. And it was super hard work. And I like hard work. I like getting my hands dirty. I don't like, you know, I enjoy doing things, creating. And that's what that career was from beginning to end. It was pure, you were just creating, you know, creating beautiful food and creating beautiful events and weddings, you know, and parties, and it was happy. So yeah, and honestly, that was the only actual career by definition that I've ever had, you know. I've done lots of odd jobs and things like that, but that was my one and only career, and I just loved it with my whole heart. Some of the happiest days of my life.
Which, you know, I think is so important, that you look at your career, that you have passion for it, right? The money flows with the career, with your passion. But, you know when I went to school the first time, I looked at how much money would I make, and I wasn't passionate. And then I ended up getting sick, right? So it goes hand in hand, right?
It really, really does. I mean, I was a year out of taking the bar exam to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I never finished. And I think that I didn't, because I don't think I could handle that kind of life. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's funny how things shift, and you know, we know when we're doing something we shouldn't be doing, you know, we really, really do. And so you do something, you know, in your heart you shouldn't be doing, there are going to be consequences, you know?
Yeah, you're not in alignment, and it shows up in the physical body in different ways, right? Yeah. Okay, so we're almost out of time, but I want you to, Nancy's on here now.
Hey,
I want you to, if you could share all that you've been through, one tidbit of advice to somebody else, what would that be?
Don't silence your heart, no matter what. Don't be afraid to act on what you're feeling. As long as there's no harm and no foul, you can't go wrong. Don't silence your heart for the good of others. And no matter what, always put yourself first, because everything else will just fall into place.
Wow, that's powerful. I knew you would have something really powerful.
Is it? I don't know.
Oh, I totally think it is, because I feel like as a collective, sometimes we've actually shut down our hearts, so we can't even feel. We can't feel, period.
You know,
right?
there's this old legend that comes out of, I think, Mesopotamia. And it talks about the moment that we lost each other and we lost that divine consciousness. And it was like thousands and thousands of years ago, and the rivers stopped flowing and the seeds stopped growing, and the womb of Mother Earth wilted and died. And in that moment is when we forgot each other. But it's because our minds took over and we silenced our hearts. So if you want to remember and you want to be in true alignment, don't silence your heart. And if your heart is silenced, do what you can to bring her back to life, because I think that that's truly the key to everything.
Wow. Okay, so powerful. Nancy's like, really powerful. I needed that today. Shelley says beautiful. It was beautiful.
I love you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, your deepest insight. You are that person for me that when I want to go really deep, you're the person that I talk to with. And truly, so thank you for being here today. Thank you for sharing your raw depth and the wisdom with everybody. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad it finally came to fruition. It was perfect timing. So thank you. And thank you, girls. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, you can all take a little tidbit, even if you're not as spiritual. You can take a little tidbit. There's so many nuggets in this Wisdom Weaver Wednesday. So, thank you, everybody. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Em.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.